All right. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson played unbelievable in Sunday's game against the Miami Dolphins. 18 to 21, over 300 yards, 5 touchdown passes in that game. He also had a perfect passer rating, 158.3. I think so far he's wrapped up the league MVP. But he got some criticism, particularly from Montse Bolaños. For those who may not know who Montse Bolaños is, she is a Fox Sports radio host. She had some controversial things to say about Lamar Jackson, and this is what she said. She says, "I want my quarterbacks to be quarterbacky." Bolaños said after mentioning the fact that Lamar Jackson failed to throw a touchdown pass in 4 games this season. And to me, Lamar Jackson's just a great athlete, and he's done a really good job. And he had a great game against the 49ers, the Christmas game on Monday night. She also went as far as saying, prisoners of the moment. He is not the MVP. Christian McCaffrey is the MVP, and he has been. I've been saying this for weeks. So my problem with Montse Bolaños, I got no problem if you want to say Lamar Jackson is the Christian McCaffrey is the MVP, considering the fact that this has been really a mid to below quarterback season. It's not been as good as we thought we would hope or imagine. But why you use the term quarterbacky to quote Colin Cowherd, because that's the only person that I know who used the term quarterbacky, and you say Lamar's just a great athlete. Now, there have been some on social media who think this is racial because Lamar Jackson, of course, is a black quarterback. And I can understand that because a lot of times African-American quarterbacks have had that criticism. But, Champ, you and I, we've had this conversation. And look, we see Dak Prescott. We see Jalen Hurts. We see Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud. We've seen the evolution of black quarterbacks in the NFL currently and how much progress they have made and dispelling, debunking all the false, the negative stereotypes that have been perpetuated about them. I think it has more to do with the fact that she's just looking on stats and stats alone. Because if you look at her Twitter, she mentions quarterbacks like Tua Tagovailoa, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud have more passing yards than Lamar Jackson. But if you take away Lamar Jackson, and yes, he has a great defense. Yes, they've been elite all season throughout the year. But if you take away Lamar Jackson, just how good the Baltimore Ravens have been. And there have been times this season in which the Ravens offense has struggled, but it's not Lamar's fault. You look at the game on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lamar perhaps made one mistake in that game, which was the red zone pick. But throughout this season, Lamar Jackson has played well enough. The numbers don't scream he's the MVP. It's nothing compared to what he did his second year when he won the MVP unanimously. But based on his value, he means a lot. And over the course of his career, he has improved as a passer. I don't necessarily think it has to be racial. I think it has more to do with the fact how you still view Lamar Jackson, how he's not considered a drop back or prototypical quarterback, even though I think he has made huge improvement over the course of his career. But, Champ, what says you?
To be honest with you, there's still a stigmatism on running quarterbacks. And I do emphasize running quarterbacks because to say black quarterbacks would be kind of irresponsible for anyone to say. Because if you really look at it, if you really say, I want my quarterback to be quarterback E, if you really want to be honest, Dak Prescott gets criticized more than anybody when it comes to his quarterback play, no matter if he has a great game when he was in the MVP conversation or when he has a bad game. So I think that would be irresponsible for us to come on any type of platform and say, oh, it's strictly racial. I think it's still a stigmatism among running quarterbacks. And there was a lot of running quarterbacks before Lamar Jackson that got that same stigmatism. I mean, before Bill Walsh got a hold of Steve Young, they was telling Steve Young that he may want to convert to running back. He told Taysom Hill here that he may want to become running back. I mean, go all the way back to Fran Tarkenton. He was not necessarily popular, but what he was doing back during the 70s, extended a play with his legs. There's always been stigmatisms on running quarterbacks throughout the ages. Even the first running quarterback, which is Bobby Douglas from the Chicago Bears. So there's always been stigmatisms on running quarterbacks on whether they're just great athletes or are they quarterbacks. And if you really want to ask a quote unquote traditional football personality or traditional football fan, they would prefer drop back passing quarterbacks like a Dak Prescott, like a Joe Montana, like a Tom Brady, simply because of evidence of longevity. If you ever notice, a lot of running quarterbacks, they don't last very long. Randall Cunningham, they last like 10 years, if they last that long. I mean, if it had not been for Andy Reid resurrecting Michael Vick's career, even if everything would have went right in Atlanta, he wouldn't have lasted very long. If you look at Steve Young, if Bill Walsh doesn't get a hold of him and teach him the West Coast offense, he doesn't last very long. So if you look at Taysom Hill right now, he isn't getting the correct teaching that he needs in order to be a better quarterback. As you can see, it's not going to last that long. So I think people like the traditional drop back quarterback simply because of evidence of longevity. But to say it's strictly because of race would be irresponsible, because there's evidence to the contrary everywhere you look with certain white quarterbacks as well. Like I said, Bobby Douglas, he was the first quarterback to rush for over 900 yards, but he was highly inaccurate. I mean, they said he could throw they said that he could throw a football through a barn door if he could find a barn door. That's how inaccurate he was. So that stigmatism on running quarterback just didn't start with black quarterback. Bobby Douglas was the first of his kind to use his legs before his arm, and he still got criticism for that. So people saying automatically pulling the race card out, that's very, very irresponsible, and I don't think we should do that.
All right. Trey, is there anything you want to add regarding Lamar?
Well, like I said, after they beat the Dolphins, get this man the MVP and stop playing. It's over. Conversation over. It's done.
Okay, Trey, what about what Montse Bolaños said? Her calling Lamar Jackson quarterbacky.
I was like, quarterbacky.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Like, what does that mean?
She quoted Colin Cowherd. The only person I know who used that term was Colin Cowherd from the Herd from Fox Sports 1.
Oh.
I think what she meant by quarterbacky is like guys who are like pocket passers, drop back pocket passers who can produce consistently, who puts up crazy eye-popping numbers like Peyton Manning, for example. Go on, Trey.
But you say that right, but ask Peyton Manning, would he rather be a mobile quarterback or a pocket passer? Ask Tom Brady, would he rather be a mobile quarterback or a pocket passer? You got a 330-pound lineman running at you, and he runs like a 4.6. And you think you finna just like, oh, I'm gonna just run away from him. If you're a pocket passer, you stuck.
All right. Harrison, is there anything you want to add?
Well, thank God it's not Brock Purdy, because I think this is by far one of the worst MVP races ever. Since
it is. You got to go back to Rich Gannon in 2002.
I know this is by far the worst MVP race, but since when this is by far... When was the last time we saw the worst MVP race?
Wait a minute, Rich Gannon 2002. Who was in that?
It was Rich Gannon, Trey.
Yeah, Rich Gannon. He won the MVP in 2002.
Steve McNair should have won that MVP that year. Either Steve McNair or Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Oh,
But they gave it
I
to
mean-
Peyton Manning and Steve McNair the following year, and they won co-MVP.
Yeah, that's what that was so weird about that year. But then
Yeah.
Priest Holmes, he led the league in touchdowns that year. That was
I mean,
crazy.
this is the number one question. What does Lamar have to prove? I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the best like passing yards, but look at his rushing. The bro is a beast. Bro is him. His pronouns. He's him. I mean, bro knows how to play. But if the Ravens makes this Super Bowl, I mean, Lamar might win MVP. But right now, it's like people are saying Brock Purdy, people saying Christian McCaffrey, people saying Lamar, people saying Dak Prescott. But just get the man the MVP. I mean, unless you got to prove him wrong. If Lamar gets to that fucking Super Bowl, it's like, okay, now you can shut the fuck up now. So, but Trey, shout out to you, man.
Look, I have no problem with Monse Bolaños or anyone else trying to make the argument for Christian McCaffrey as the MVP. Champ has been on the record saying that. And look, considering the fact that it's been that bad of a quarterback play this season, but you cannot argue that Lamar Jackson isn't an MVP. I mean, the numbers. What's up, bro? How you doing, man? What up? We just talking about Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you heard the report about Monse Bolaños. She got into some controversy because she used the term quarterbacky. I want my quarterbacks to be quarterbacky. Prisoner at the moment. It's regarding Lamar Jackson. She used the term quarterbacky to reference Colin Cowherd. I know your face is like in disbelief or shock. What are your thoughts about what she said?
I'm trying to comprehend what the hell quarterback even means.
I don't know what it means. Like quarterback who's like a prototypical or drop back pocket passer, like a Peyton Manning, and puts up numbers consistently. But my thing is, she doesn't look. She's trying to make an argument or a case for Lamar Jackson, and she's just pure being a stat merchant because she brings up other quarterbacks. If you go on her Twitter and if you look at her tweets, she made an argument. Here are quarterbacks that put up better stats than Lamar. Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff. And I'm like, okay, but you're just stat padding. If you, considering how bad the quarterback play has been, and if you take Lamar Jackson out of the equation, just how good Baltimore would be. Defensively, they're great. They've been elite all season. You would acknowledge that, Broad. Yes. But offensively, if you take Lamar Jackson out of the equation, how good would they be? And he's even had to do it without his best weapon, which just happens to be Mark Andrews.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of get what she's saying. It would depend on the quarterback that you would bring in to replace Lamar Jackson. Because say you brought in Daniel Jones, then no, that's going to be a catastrophic failure. But if you brought in, say, I don't even know.
I mean,
bro's lost for words.
Last thoughts of words, but I just think
I'm just like confused on the way that she phrased it because it's
quarterbacky,
quarterback like.
She had to use Colin. She had to use
Bro's
Colin
just
Cowherd.
so lost.
She had to use Colin Cowherd because there's nobody else who uses that term than Colin Cowherd. And again,
it's all right. When she said that, the record just skipped.
No, it's right. Colin Cowherd. I've never heard.
Like, what is that? No,
Trey, Colin Cowherd has used that term because he keeps using that old traditional standard when it comes to quarterbacks. Lamar may not be the traditional quarterback. He's not like a Josh.
Say you want a pocket passer, not a dual threat.
Then just say that. But when you say quarterback,
it's an easy way of saying it, especially because now we're in an age, or at least just the era right now, which obviously it'll fall out probably in 5 years, but we're in the era of the dual threat quarterback right now. But then in like the early 2000s with Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, they were pocket passers.
Right. And when you look at Lamar, does Lamar run a traditional pro style offense? No. But over the course of his career, he has improved as a passer. But do you think it has something to do with broad race? I don't really necessarily think so, because we've seen black quarterbacks such as Dak Prescott, your boy Jalen Hurts, my guy Jalen Hurts because of OU, of course. We've seen CJ Stroud. We've seen Patrick Mahomes. We've seen other black quarterbacks that have elevated and changed the narrative or the stereotypes that have been perpetuated about them. Do you think it has to do with race or anything, broad, in your opinion?
I mean, I don't really know how to answer that. Like, because that's a really tough question. Because no, I'm not gonna answer it.
Because, like I stated earlier, the first running quarterback wasn't even a black quarterback.
The way that I was
Bobby Douglas.
Because the way that I was about to phrase it, if someone took that out of context, it sounds very offensive. So I'm not gonna answer it.
Yeah. Ayo responded, no, it's not about race. She probably doesn't like the play of Josh Allen, runs too much for her taste. That's an interesting one, because when you look at Josh Allen, his style of play, even though he can throw the football and sling it like the best of them, I mean, he has a lot more Cam Newton in him.
Yeah. Even though he throws it with like the velocity of an MLB pitcher, where it's just.
He does. He certainly does.
He really does. As a Panther fan, he like throws like a Rich Hill type of pitch.
Yeah.
All right, but let's move on. I think with Lamar Jackson, as far as I'm concerned, I have him as the MVP.
Yes.
I mean, if you have to give it to a quarterback, I have no problem with Lamar. But if you want to make an argument for Christian McCaffrey, considering how bad the quarterback play has been, if you want to give it to...
I was about to say that too. You can make an argument for CMC, but they'll never give it to anyone.
Hey, if you got watch out, if the Cowboys come out and have a huge game against the Commanders, they might try to give it to Dak again.
Oh no!
I'm just saying.
No, that Bills game really
it's too late. After what we saw Lamar did in that game against Miami, champ, and plus the Commanders have the worst defense in the National Football League.
So if he come out there and throw like 6 touchdowns against the Commanders, I mean, you watch out. He'll be at 20 touchdowns.
Well, the thing is, because they can use a common game, which is Dolphins. And I know some people are going to say, well, Dak had to play Miami and Lamar got to play him at home, so obviously it's going to be an advantage. Doesn't matter. He still tore that defense to shreds.
It don't matter.
And
because the last time he played the Dolphins in Miami, it was a slaughter.
And let's not forget the game against Buffalo, in which they got their asses whooped in that game. Let's not forget that.
Mashed.
But anyway, let's move on.